Greetings and welcome to the Astronomy Picture of the Day podcast. Today's picture is titled Pleiades, the Seven Sisters star cluster. So what do we see here? Well, here we see one of the most famous star clusters, and that is the Pleiades, easily visible to the naked eye if you know the right direction to look in the constellation of Taurus. And you can often see this little clump of stars if you look towards Orion, and then look off above to the west of Orion, and there we will see Taurus the Bull, and within that we will see the Pleiades star cluster. Now, it's often called the Seven Sisters, and you can see there's far more than seven stars here. And the story is that there were originally seven stars that would have been visible to the unaided eye long ago, and that one of those has since faded. That's certainly a possibility, but of course, how many you can actually see, how many stars are visible, depends on a number of different things. It can depend on how bright the sky is. If you have a very dark sky, you might be able to pick out a few more stars in this cluster. And if you have very bright city lights, you can actually still see this cluster. It is bright enough to be seen even in a very light polluted city, but you might have trouble picking out all of the stars. So that's just as possible as the fact that maybe one of the stars faded in brightness, or maybe there were just always six of the brighter stars that were the only ones visible. Now, star clusters like this are relatively young, and we can see this cluster actually happens to be moving through a cloud of dust, and that gives us a reflection nebula. So the blue color that we see is the scattering of the light of the stars off of the dust grains that the cluster happens to be moving through. So this is not the remnant material of the Pleiades star cluster when it formed. That is gone. This is now moving through another dusty area and happens to illuminate that dust. And here we can see in the image, we get that blue color near the stars. And then as we move further away, we see more of the typical ruddy red to brown colors of the dust that is then visible in this area. So the dust then can be illuminated by these stars and give us a very prominent reflection nebula, as we see here. Now, in order to see this, you do have to take a much longer exposure. This is 18 hours of exposure looking at the Pleiades, and that allows us to bring out far more detail and see more stars than you could in just a quick snapshot. So while in that case you might be able to see a little bit in terms of stars, here you're able to see a lot more detail and bring out all of that detail in the dust in this region. So a much longer exposure allows us to see fainter things that would simply not be visible to the eye. And that's one of the reasons astronomy expanded greatly later on, once photography was developed and we were able to take longer exposures and not reliant on just looking through a telescope and sketching things out by hand, which was all you could do for the first couple of 100 years since the telescope was developed. And of course, before that as well. But that was all you could do to record the images. So until the mid-1800s, when we got the first couple photographs, and then even more in the 1900s as the photography really built up and we were able to get more detailed and longer images, it really helped our understanding of the universe. So that was our picture of the day, titled Pleiades, the Seven Sisters star cluster. We'll be back again tomorrow for the next picture. So until then, have a great day, everyone, and I will see you in class.